The Dark Souls series is known for its deep and somewhat complex lore, and the endings of each of the games represent this a lot, as there are no objectively good or bad endings, as most of them usually comes with their fair share of pros and cons, so whether one is good or bad is left up to the player's interpretation. But even knowing this, I still wanted to go over each Dark Souls game and pick out the ending that would be the best for the world. Is it the one where we link the flame continuing the Age of Fire, the one where we usher in a new Age of Dark, or the one where we take the flame for ourselves and become the Lord of Hollows? Well, I'll tell you which one I think is the best. But before moving on, I just wanted to say that this is just my interpretation of the lore. As I mentioned before, there aren't any concrete evidence that state which ending is the overall best, as everything is skewed in mystery. Anyways, if you like content like this, then be sure to like and subscribe, only if you want to, but without wasting any more of your time, let's get to the video. To really understand why I'm not a big fan of the endings in Dark Souls 2, specifically the Leave the Throne ending, I need to explain how the choices work and what they mean for the story. Near the end of the game, where a character known as the Bearer of the Curse faces a decision: sit on the Throne of Want or leave it behind. If we decide to sit on the Throne of Want, it symbolizes a huge step. Our character essentially takes control of the fate of the world, meaning they would theoretically choose to link the first flame, keeping the Age of Fire going, or let it die out, bringing in an Age of Dark. However, the game never actually spells out which path our character takes. Instead, it leaves the choice up to our imagination and speculation, which can be frustrating for players who want a clear answer about what happens next. Not saying it's completely bad though. The other option is to simply turn around and leave the throne room. This choice might seem less dramatic at first, but it holds its own deeper meaning. By leaving the Throne of Want, the Bearer of the Curse is showing that they're not satisfied with just sitting on the throne and repeating the same cycle that's been going on for ages. Instead, they're choosing to leave in search of a true, permanent solution to the curse of the undead. A solution that hasn't been found despite the efforts of many who came before. While this sounds hopeful, it's still not a perfect ending. In fact, it's kind of disappointing when you consider the bigger picture. Sure, it seemed like the Bearer of the Curse is determined to find a real fix for the curse, but the reality is, as we see in Dark Souls 3, they don't succeed. The world of Dark Souls 3 is still haunted by the undead curse, even if it doesn't directly affect the main character of that game. This implies that whatever path our character took in Dark Souls 2, it didn't lead to any lasting change. The cycle is still here, the curse is still around, and the world is still stuck in the same endless loop of linking the flame, letting it fade, and trying to survive in the aftermath. So what's the real problem with these endings? For one, both choices feel a bit empty. Sitting on the Throne of Want gives our character power, but it's unclear how that power is used. Did they link the flame or choose darkness? We'll never know. And if they leave, while it may seem noble and ambitious, the fact that nothing changes in the next game make it feel like a dead-end choice. The ending of leaving the throne also carries a message of failure and frustration. The Bearer of the Curse wants to break the cycle, yet that doesn't happen. In Dark Souls 3, we still see that the curse still exists, and the Age of Fire and the Age of Dark continue the cycle one after another. So even if our character left with high hopes, they didn't succeed. It feels like a cycle of repeated attempts and repeated failures, which fits with the Dark Souls theme, but it doesn't provide much satisfaction. On the other hand, the fact that we don't know exactly what happened if we sit on the throne is also frustrating in a different way. The lack of clear outcome leaves the player in the dark with no real sense of closure. This choice has potential because it implies power and control, but it also leaves everything unresolved. And since the game doesn't allow us to choose between an Age of Fire or an Age of Dark, the ending feels vague. But that's not necessarily a bad thing on the game's part, because throughout the whole game, different characters are trying to tell us that whatever option we choose, there's still always going to be a cycle regardless. So who knows? To understand why linking the flame isn't the best option for the world of Dark Souls, we need to look at what the Age of Fire really means and why this cycle keeps repeating. In the Dark Souls games, the Age of Fire is a period filled with light, power, and prosperity for the gods and certain powerful beings, but with every passing cycle, the fire weakens and an Age of Dark starts to creep in, which is a natural part of the world's flow. But the gods, Gwyn specifically, fear this Age of Dark because it could end their rule and change the world forever. In Dark Souls, when we link the first flame, it restarts the Age of Fire. This decision burns away our character's soul or humanity to become fuel for the flame. The flame grows stronger for a time, but it will eventually fade again, causing the whole cycle to repeat. Each time someone links the flame, they sacrifice themselves to buy more time for the Age of Fire. However, as time goes on, the effect of linking the flame becomes weaker and each new Age of Fire grows shorter than the last. One big reason why Link in the Flame isn't a good ending for the world is that it's not a real solution. Link in the Flame only keeps things going temporarily. It's like putting a band-aid over a wound that never heals. The world of Dark Souls is caught in a repeating loop, and every time the flame fades, someone else has to make the sacrifice. This never-ending cycle of linking the flame and restarting the Age of Fire traps the world in a pattern where nothing ever changes. This means there's no chance for real growth, evolution, or progress. Because the Age of Fire is held up by the gods, Link in the Flame mainly benefits them. They want the flame to keep going because it keeps their power intact and help them stay in control. The Age of Dark, by contrast, is more mysterious and the gods view it as dangerous. But just because it's unknown doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. An Age of Dark might allow humanity to flourish in new ways, or could create a natural balance without the gods ruling over everything. But they were so afraid of losing their power that they wouldn't allow this to happen. Instead, they manipulate people into thinking that the Age of Fire is the only way forward, which keeps the cycle going and protects their own interests. By linking the flame, where a character is sacrificing themselves for a world that's already been decaying for ages, as each cycle continues, the world becomes more and more broken. The land falls into ruin and people lose their mind and turn hollow, and suffering only increases. In this way, Link in the Flame is like trying to keep a dying kingdom alive, even though its people are already falling apart and hope is fading. The world is trapped in this decaying state, constantly on the edge of collapse, yet the fire is linked over and over again to keep things as they are. This isn't really helping anyone in the long run because it only postpones the inevitable end without solving deeper problems. The Undead Curse is also a major issue here. This curse is tied to the cycle of Link in the Flame. It's what keeps bringing characters like ours into the world, giving them an almost endless life until they go hollow. The curse was put in place to help find new way people would sacrifice themselves to keep the Age of Fire alive. So by linking the flame, we're also allowing the curse to continue, trapping more people in this life of suffering. They wander endlessly, slowly losing their minds and humanity until they're no longer even themselves. Linking the Flame is all about preserving the status quo. It doesn't allow for new possibilities. By choosing to link the flame, we're stopping any chance for a new age to arise, which might bring a different, potentially better world. We never get to see the opportunity of what the Age of Dark might bring. It could bring freedom from the gods' control, allowing humanity to find its own way, or maybe it could lead to a different type of balance that would replace the constant state of decay the Age of Fire brought. By linking the flame, we're denying the world this chance and forcing it to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. Another reason why linking the flame isn't great is that the world of Dark Souls is falling apart more and more with each cycle. Lands merge, the environment becomes twisted, and time itself becomes distorted as the flame continues to weaken. We see this more clearly in Dark Souls 3, where it's clear that reality is bending and breaking. This endless cycle of fire and decay has torn the world apart so much that it barely makes sense anymore. Every time the flame is linked, it's like stretching a rope thinner and thinner until it's almost ready to snap. There's only so much the world can take before it falls apart entirely, and linking the flame might actually be speeding up this breakdown. In conclusion, while linking the flame might seem noble, it's really just a temporary fix. It doesn't bring any real hope or growth to the world. It only drags out the same cycle of suffering. The Age of Fire is slowly fading, the curse continues to trap people in lives of endless pain, and the world itself is coming undone. By choosing to link the flame, we're not helping to solve any of these problems, at least permanently. We're just keeping the world in a constant state of decay. The Age of Dark is often seen as a mysterious and scary alternative to the Age of Fire, but there are several reasons why it might actually be a better ending for the world of Dark Souls. While the Age of Fire keeps the world trapped in a cycle of linking the flame and repeating the same patterns over and over, the Age of Dark offers a chance for change and a fresh start. The Age of Fire is a time for power and control for the gods, who were the ones keeping the flame alive to maintain their hold over the world, or that's how it used to be, and now we're just continuing the tradition. By linking the flame, people are really just keeping an old tradition and stopping any real change from happening. But the Age of Dark could remove this control, giving humanity a chance to find its own path, without the gods ruling over everything. People might be free to shape their own lives and choose their own futures without being tied to the old decaying Age of Fire. Another thing is that the Age of Dark might end the Undead Curse. This curse, which is connected to the cycle of linking the flame, forces people into an endless cycle of life and death. This is what causes people to become undead and eventually go hollow, losing all their memories, personalities, and humanity. Ending the Age of Fire, letting an Age of Dark begin could mean breaking this curse once and for all. This would allow people to live natural lives without the fear of turning hollow or being forced to make painful sacrifices just to keep the flame going. The Age of Dark might also allow the world to heal. Over time, the repeated cycles of linking the flame have caused the world to decay more and more, breaking it down and twisting the land until they barely resemble what they once were. As I mentioned in the previous ending, we see that the world is falling apart due to the constant strain of the cycles. Choosing the Age of Dark might stop this decay, allowing the world to settle into a new form rather than being stretched and torn by each new Age of Fire. This could mean a chance for stability and growth instead of endless destruction. In conclusion, choosing the Age of Dark could allow the world to grow and move forward. While it's hard to know exactly what an Age of Dark would look like, it represents a chance of real freedom and a future beyond the decaying Age of Fire. But hey, we will never truly know, as most of these endings are left up to interpretation. So I could be completely wrong about the Age of Dark if Miyazaki came out and say, hey, it's actually the worst ending. But for right now, it's still left as a mystery. And if you think that the Age of Dark is terrible, I'm actually open to know why, so just leave a comment down below, because we're all humans and we have like different opinions and interpretations of things. Anyways, let's move on. The usurpation of fire ending in Dark Souls 3 is often considered the best choice for the world of Dark Souls because it gives humanity a chance to take control of its own destiny. In this ending, the player character doesn't just link the flame as in past games or let it fade. Instead, they absorb the flame's power for themselves, becoming the Lord of Hollows, and ushering a new Age of Dark where humans hold the power. This ending is significant because it breaks away from the endless cycle of linking the flame and suffering under the undead curse. One reason why this ending is better than the others, at least to me, is that it finally breaks the old patterns. In previous games, linking the flame only kept the Age of Fire going, and all this did was causing the world to decay and the undead curse to continue. But in the usurpation of fire endings, this cycle of constantly burning out and starting over is disrupted. The player takes control of the flame, not to restart the Age of Fire, but to begin a new age where humanity can decide its own future. This is a big shift because it moved the world beyond the limitations of both the Age of Fire and the fear-filled Age of Dark that Gwyn always warned about. Another important point is that this ending could finally mean the end of the undead curse. The curse which traps people in an endless loop of life and death is connected to the cycle of linking the flame. By taking the flame's power and making humanity the central force of this new age, the usurpation of fire might break the curse's hold on people once and for all. This would allow humans to live natural lives free from the curse that turned them hollow and drives them to madness. Without the undead curse, the people in this world might finally have a chance for peace and stability, something that hasn't been possible under the previous cycles. The usurpation of fire also allows humanity to become its own ruler. It could be a chance for humans to create their own future, one that isn't trapped by the endless cycle of fire and dark that kept the world suffering for so long. In summary, the usurpation of fire ending is the best outcome for the Dark Souls series, at least in my opinion, because it gives humanity control over the flame, breaks the cycle of linking and fading, and offers a way out of the undead curse. This ending represents real freedom and a new start, with humanity finally able to shape its own destiny. But again, this is just my interpretation. Do not take this as cold hard facts, because we truly don't know if anything good happens after this, unless Miyazaki himself says so. But the reason why I like it so much is because again, it offers a different solution. Instead of just linking the flame or just simply refusing to link it, it's basically our character saying, how about I just take the flame for myself and, you know, see if I could actually change the world for something better. It's pretty cool. So that was my pick for the best ending in the Dark Souls games. Remember, this is just my interpretation. So again, don't take this as complete facts, because there are a lot of pros and cons for these endings. This was just a fun idea I thought of. Anyways, if you want to add something, maybe you disagreed or agreed with me, then just leave a comment down below. I'm really open to learn new things. Anyways, shout out to my Patreon members, Jabroni Jones, Daniel Scotland, and Mac. Thank you guys for the additional support, and thank you to those who are watching this video. I hope you have a good one.